Hello, hello. May I request you to please take your seats? Hello, hello, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, please start. Take your seats, so we will start soon. And we are very heavily packed with the schedule, including the evening at Yacht. I think a couple of minutes time.
All right. You ready? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. As I was saying, I'll properly say it again. You know, as you guys know, we have celebrated 20 years in compliance. And I did want to highlight, and I'll highlight again for everybody again, that we have two of our co-founders in the room, which is Suresh Dalani and Afi Merchant. So can we go to the next slide? Do I have this chart? Me and slides are just not working out well today. I want to go to the next one. All right. So just wanted to kind of highlight that over the past 20 years, there are two things that have remained consistently important to us at ControlCase. One of those things is our customers and our employees. And the picture you see today is a picture of us with our customers and our employees. Our founder, Kishore Vashani, said once, "The true measure of a company's success lies in its ability to adapt to the evolving needs of its customers and provide them with a reliable and innovative solutions. The customer-centric approach not only fosters trust and loyalty, but it also drives the company's growth and development." That statement still remains true for us. As we partner with our customers, we want to continue to use your feedback to provide you reliable and innovative solutions. Let me go back one more. All right. And there are two ways that we kind of do that, and we focus on getting that feedback from you as our customers. One of those ways are through our lessons learned. In our lessons learned, we focus on getting your feedback on our assessors, our project managers, cybersecurity services, ControlCase technology, and our ControlCase team as a whole. So we allow you to get on the phone with us. Our CSM team, all four of them are here with us today. Archana, Devanchi, Mohammed, and Sakonia. They're all in the back somewhere. So they will contact you and say, hey, it's time for your annual lessons learned. And in that lessons learned, we want to get your valuable feedback. And we use that feedback to draw positive change in our organization. Not only just your experience, but the experience for everyone else. The second way we do that is through a system we call Smileback. Anytime that you close a ticket, so anytime you use our cybersecurity services or anytime you have an audit to close out, if you look at the very bottom of that email, you'll see 3 smiley faces, green, yellow, and red. We ask you to please, every time you get that email, please press one of those smiley faces because it lets us know how you feel about the service. It allows us to drive that positive change that we are talking about. Right? When you do not hit that button, we don't know what you truly felt. And if you feel like, hey, it was great, they know they're great. No, let that team member know they're great by pressing that green button. If you didn't have such a good experience, let us know. Press the yellow or red. Our CSM team will contact you, and we'll make sure you have the best experience in the following test. So it's very important that you do both of those things, our lessons learned as well as our Smileback. So I wouldn't be Shamla if I didn't ask you to do something for me today, right? So today, and throughout this conference, you'll be hearing each one of our speakers speak, and we're going to ask you to also tell us your feedback on our conference as well. So this is a QR code. You'll see it all over on the tables, and we ask after tomorrow, between the break and the lunch, anytime between the break and the lunch, if you can fill out that form. The beginning of that form is going to ask us for just your experience with ControlCase as a whole. So we're still going to get feedback on your experience as your service provider. Then the second portion is feedback from the conference. We want to know your feedback about the presentation, and we're also going to let you have a little insight on possibly where we will go next year. So allow you to give your input and your vote for next year's conference. All right. Well, that's it for me. I just want to make sure you guys always understand that there's two things that are important to us, and that's our customers and our employees. So we hope that you feel that importance each time that you're met with one of us. Thank you.
Let me just, before I invite others, let me just say that Shamla is more Indian than many Indians. And she knows more customers than many customers from India will know. So I'm really thankful to Shamla for creating that atmosphere. And keep it up, please. So now, for the want of time, let's start with the next session, which is by Satya Rane, our group CEO, and my pride recruit of 2008. That I got him to the company. And I see, when I and he go to meet a customer, I say both brain and body has come. Where is the brain? Wherever I go. So let me call him on the stage, and along with the moderator, who's Amul Sawant, and then later they will introduce. So he's going to talk about navigating IT compliance standards in data security. So Satya, please come in.
Welcome everyone. This session is going to be literally the breadth of all the compliances what we do for customers, and mostly required by all of you. What we are going to talk today is, you will see that this is a power-packed kind of agenda. The organizations today, they are facing a lot of compliance challenges, and there is a need to optimize the compliance efforts. So in next 40 minutes, what we are going to do is, the first 20 minutes, we are just going to talk about certain compliances, what are the different challenges based on the size of the organization, and then how we, as ControlCase, which is a tech-enabled certification and compliance provider in this space, can help you really optimize your compliance journey. And that's something we will go through. And then next 20 minutes, we are going to have a insightful panel discussion where there will be distinguished panel members who will talk more on the subject. So, to begin with, the modern compliance landscape really is complex and overwhelming. Organizations, they have to really simultaneously do a lot of certifications. They have to undergo multiple regulation standards and frameworks to show how they are really standing good with respect to their IT compliance and cybersecurity. And while doing that, they have to really undergo multiple different compliances, which are having a lot of overlapping controls and requirements. And that's where, they start going through the same controls again and again. They have to face multiple auditors throughout the year, etc. And when we talk about all these compliances, there are so many common IT compliance standards out there. You can see some of them on the screen, and these, I'm not really going to talk about each and every compliance standard here on the screen, but these are important ones which are commonly we are seeing organizations have to certify for. Starting from PCI DSS, it's a standard which applies to the organizations and infrastructures which store, process, and transmit cardholder data. Similarly, there are other standards such as ISO 27001, which mainly talks about setting up the information security management system. There is other standard like SOC 2 and GDPR, which more talks from the European privacy aspects, and then the FedRAMP and CMMC, which is more focused towards the US government-related work, the defense industrial-based contractors, they have to undergo certain rigorous requirements, and that's what these standards cover. Now let's delve into the challenges. Now challenges are going to be different. There is no one-size-fits-all kind of approach which is going to applicable for all. When we talk about organizations, let's first focus mainly on the large organizations. Large organizations, because they are dealing with multiple customers, they are spread across multiple geographies, and also providing services to multiple customers from multiple geographies. They have to really follow through all the compliances as per the law of the land. And that's where you will see that most of these organizations are in a compliance and audit cycle throughout the year. Okay, so there's no period where you will see that they are just doing their job, what they are actually supposed to, and that's where you will see there's a continuous audits which are going on, and if there is no proper technology and there is no proper way to really find out what are the common areas, the overlapping requirements, they have to really answer those questions to their auditors again and again. And that's where they have to keep collecting the same evidence periodically. Their IT is busy in collecting, satisfying the multiple auditors. They have to keep facing multiple auditors, and the cycle goes on and on. Those are the challenges very specifically about the large organizations. The smaller organizations compared to the larger organizations have different challenges. They are new in industry, they are trying to set up themselves, they want to prove to the industry, and go to market is something which is key to their success, and the compliance plays an important role in that journey. That's where they will always face, and this is our experience over the 20 years dealing with the smallest to the Fortune companies, we have seen that the smaller organizations typically, they will always lack the internal expertise. They will always have some or other time pressures to comply, certify, and move on. As well as the biggest problem what we have seen is the budget constraint. So all these things are the typical challenges of the smaller organizations. There are so many other complexities. We talked about the high level kind of challenges with respect to smaller and the larger organizations, but complexities when it comes to the bigger organizations, we categorize them into banks, BPOs, merchants, and service providers. So these are typical, categorization what we have seen from our experience. Banks will have multiple different products. They range from the payment gateway to ATM to, fraud management system and things like that. And they really focus from a product perspective. They do not really focus as an organization, because sometimes the larger organizations like banks, etc., it's difficult to cover everything together at one time in one go from a certification perspective. Whereas BPOs, they have, because of the contractual obligations from the customers, they have to really divide those certification efforts by location, or maybe by product, or by the type of business what they are actually selling. Because some customers may be very particular about that. My physical boundary has to be separately covered into the certification. Then there are merchants. Merchants typically, go by the channels or how they serve to the market, be it online or offline or any other modes, or by products also sometimes we have seen. So, there are multiple different ways these organizations are doing businesses, and there are complexities while they are operating like that. And finally, the service providers typically, by product or by a location is something they want to get certified. And the smaller organizations typically by a product and location. That's what we have seen. Now, with all these complexities and several challenges what we have seen, the solution for these two different types of sizes of the organizations are not going to be the same. The solution, when we talk about from our experience, we have seen what really works is something for the larger organizations when they really want to streamline their certification process, their compliance efforts. Typically, what we have done is, there is always a common IT infrastructure, and then there are silos by product, by location, by contract, and several other ways you can see. That's where we really advise customer, we recommend that you separate out, you carve out your IT infrastructure as a separate certification and get it certified, and then use that attestation throughout all other smaller certifications by location, by product, what you're going to do. And that's where you will see that you're not going to again and again collect the evidence from that IT infrastructure, which is common for all these different certifications by product, by location, etc. And you really optimize your efforts where not only you are saving the collection of the evidence, but also you're going to save a lot of time of your IT, which is throughout you're busy answering the security team about various different evidence-related questions. However, this approach, we have also seen some of the challenges, but these challenges are temporary challenges. If you take that leap for the first time where you do that, you will see an enormous amount of advantage when you do it, and that's where first time you'll feel it like, it's a little difficult, but once you do it and once you see that how it can leverage the certificate for other certifications, you will really like it. So we talked about challenges, about solutions, and that's where the cost and resources and time is something what you're going to save. For the smaller organizations, however, it's going to be difficult because larger organizations typically have in-house governance risk compliance platforms. They would have knowledgeable people and team of security experts who can really cater to all these certifications and spend time on it. However, when we talk about the smaller organizations very specifically, the smaller organizations have always a time-bound certification expectations from the certifying bodies as well as auditors, and that's where if they have the right technology, they can really streamline the entire process, and that's something which we are going to talk little in next few slides, and they should have the right partner. So these are the key elements to the success of the smaller organizations. Of course, this also applies to the larger organizations also. And when you see the certification is a once in a year kind of activity, okay? However, to get to that once in a year success, you have to do all these different periodic activities, including daily log review, quarterly scans and tests, monthly reviews, then half-yearly firewall rule set reviews, and so many other things. Unless you keep doing that, you won't be able to comply to the requirement for the yearly certification. And that's where the managed compliance services play an important role. And you will typically see that smaller organizations, they do not have capabilities, skills, and capabilities to do all that thing. So, having said that, our approach to simplify is basically with a tech-enabled IT certification and cybersecurity provider. We engage with you with, first of all, the Compliance Hub, which is having the integration of 60 plus IT standards, frameworks and guidelines together, where we are providing a lot of out-of-the-box help to the organizations where they can really, in a self-service mode, understand what is required from the templates which are already available right in front of the question, as well as how they map to different standards even though they are not doing it. So basically you are getting this compliance software, which is Compliance Hub, as well as you are getting the auditing side of it, where we ourselves as a PCI QSA, ISO certifying body, HITRUST CSF assessor, and so many other credentials what we have. Unlike when you see today that there are technology companies who are just providing the technology platform for compliances, but they do not have capabilities to audit you. And this is where we stand different, where we give you a platform as well as the services, which is the auditing services. So the platform comes as part of the service, and that's where we can really satisfy the requirements and overcome the challenges which typically the large organizations as well as the smaller organizations are facing. And that is where I just want to give you a glimpse of how this works. We are going to look at these screens, throughout these sessions, but as far as this particular session is concerned, imagine that you are doing PCI DSS today, and those who are actually engaged with us and have already seen Compliance Hub, they would always remember this particular pie chart which is there on your dashboard. The pie chart talks about currently 100 questions by their compliance status, and even if you are not doing all other 60 standards which are already integrated in this particular platform, you would able to get the view of it when you click on add-on regulations. As we do a click on it, and you see all these different 60 plus standards, regulations and frameworks already there mapped within the platform, and you come to know where do you stand when you are PCI certified with all these other 59 or 60 regulation standards and frameworks. Not just that, the platform also allows you to do multiple certifications at the same time. We call it as One Audit, our flagship offering, where you go through the set of questions once only, and as a result, you get multiple different certification, assess once and comply to many. So, that's a glimpse of what I wanted to say, really. In the interest of time, to wrap up, basically, ControlCase, as we are working with you, we can really provide you the platform as well as auditing services, as I said, to streamline all your compliance efforts. And while doing that, our goal always is going to make sure that how your compliance journey is seamless, and also provide the smart approaches. And some of those we are going to see in the technology related session, where Rupesh, our CTO, is going to take us through multiple different innovations which are inside the platform available to you, and basically how you can use those smart approaches to streamline your IT compliance processes. Now, as a next step, basically we have all our experts here today, right from the assessors who knows inside of all these standards. We have our project managers who interact with all of you. We have our account managers who are in touch on a daily basis with you. As a next step, I would encourage all of you to please talk to them if you have seen something here during these sessions which you have never got access to when it comes to Compliance Hub as a platform. Please talk to them, and they will give you, if you want to see the live demo, they can provide you the live demo. If you want to really talk more from your own unique problems or issues you are facing, and who knows, we might be already having the solutions, or we might have already seen the same problem and we can provide you the solution for it. So with that, I would like to pause here. I would like to stop here. And next session, I would like to just call for the panel discussion. Thank you for your attention.
All right. So with this 30 minutes, 20-minute session on navigating ID compliance, now I would like to call upon our distinguished panel for the panel discussion to give their insightful thoughts on their experiences and their insights on different standards and certifications, what they have done. And with that, I would first like to call upon Mr. Nisala Pudipilli, the Chief Information Security Officer and Senior Vice President at Union Bank of Colombo. He has over 30 years of experience in banking and technology. He spearheads digital transformations at Nation's Trust Bank, launching Freemi, Sri Lanka's first digital bank. Nisala actively contributes to the Sri Lankan industry, serving on key committees and advocating for industry best practices. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Hisham Muwad, Chief Information Security Officer at Fawri, Egypt. Hisham brings over 24 years of cybersecurity expertise on the table with a strong background in telecommunications and fintech, and he has spearheaded security initiatives at leading companies like Fawri and Vodafone Egypt. Thank you, Hisham. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Mohammad Anwar Ayadi, the head of IT of Societe Montic Tunis, from Tunisia. Mr. Ayadi brings over 30 years of experience in IT infrastructure, networking, and security. He has successfully led numerous projects in payment application, card management, and banking solutions. Key achievements include establishing a robust DR site and implementing AI-enabled solution. We welcome you, Mr. Ayadi. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Karthikeyan, Associate Vice President and Head of Information Security Governance Risk Compliance at Movet Technology, India, Chennai. He is a seasoned cybersecurity leader with 20 years of experience, and he specializes in cybersecurity solutions, risk and compliance management, and governance. Karthikeyan has a strong background in GRC, business consultation, and global delivery across diverse environments. Thank you, Karthikeyan. And with that, to take a control of this excellent panel, I would like to call upon Mr. Amol Sawant, Senior Vice President with ControlCase, responsible for all the IT certification related business for Asia Pacific. Thank you, Amol.
Thank you, Satya. Good morning, everyone, and very warm welcome to all the panel members of the stage. In today's compliance landscape, navigating multiple compliances like juggling, you're trying to juggle while you're riding a unicycle, right? You need to have a fine balance between multiple compliance requirements. At the same time, you have to ensure there are no operational impact on a business as usual activities. There is one study which shows on an average, the organization has to certify it or be in compliant with at least 6 standards. Standards like data security standard from PCI Council, which covers the car data related security aspects. Then you have a standard such as ISO, which is on the management systems like AIMS now, which has been come into play. Then you have PIMS, ISMS to talk about, right? And then you have SWIFT. And then you have a regulatory specific requirements coming from central bank or the different countries, specific mainly from data localization, financial transaction related like anti-money laundering, and the data privacy now. And when it comes to this compliance requirement, right, from a different standard, they are enough to keep all the security professionals on their toes. And through this panel discussion, we are going to look at the different or explore different strategies that can be adopted by the security professional to successfully navigate and be compliant with these standard requirements. But before we begin with our panel discussion, I'd like to do a quick poll. How many of you here present, your organization has to comply with more than one standard? If you can raise your hand. Great. Okay. And I can do a small quick poll again. The people who have raised the hand, for how many of you, ControlCase has been engaged as your compliance partner for more than one standard certification? Okay. So this was mainly for the sales team. So there is a upsell opportunity which we can tap on. So now I think the stage has been set for the panel discussion. I'd like to directly get into the questions. The first question I'm going to ask is for all the panel members, mainly about the challenges associated with this multiple regulation and the compliance standard that you have to comply with, right? Nisara, you've been with the Union Bank and in the banking sector, right? Most regulated sector, as you can say. You have to comply with many of the regulatory requirements, plus now PCI DSS, we have been engaged with you. If you can provide your thoughts around it, the challenges which are associated with managing the multiple compliances?
So I can, yeah, so.
It's on, right?
So we have to comply with so many standards, like starting from the PCI, like which are already engaged, and the ISO 27000, ISO 20000, 22301, 27035, like the ISMS. There are so many standards, and in Sri Lanka we have a PDPA regulation as well. So we got to comply with all these standards. It's a challenging engagement altogether. Basically, I mean, so what we do, the IT team is more engaged in complying to these standards rather than supporting for the business. So that's a key challenge what we have. So on the other side, the skill gaps what we have on the IT professionals, that's another major challenge, and the attritions what we have. Those are the, if I say, on the industry as industry, that's the main challenges which we face currently.
Hisham, you've been leading financial service provider in Egypt. And not only your regulatory requirements you have to comply, but like PCI DSS, we have been engaged with you for PCI DSS, DSW, then I think PCI PIN, SOC 2. You also be subject to a lot of third-party audits from your customers, right? So if you can share your experience with the challenges that are associated with the managing the multiple compliances.
First of all, thank you to have me today with you and with all the respected people here. It's a challenge for sure, but let me say that compliance is a main factor for customer trust and partner trust. So compliance is very important despite of the associated challenges. But as you mentioned, there is many regulatory body in Egypt. Egypt is a heavy regulated country, so there is a challenge to be compliant with many standards. Also, there is an internal challenge as well. So when you think about keeping track of all compliance requirements, implementing to the production environment and disturbing business, all this challenge are facing, adoption of other departments and the awareness of employees. All these are challenges we are facing while maintaining different stream of compliance requirement.
Okay, thank you. Ayadi, the same question goes to you as well. I think SMT being in Tunisia a leading financial provider, you are also subject to a lot of, and you are part of BFSI sector, so most regulated sector again, and you have to comply with regulatory requirements. We have been engaged with you for PCI DSS and other certification, right? And also the third-party audits from your customers. If you can share your experience with managing, or the challenges part of it in managing those multiple compliances.
Thank you. Let me first introduce Monetique Tunisie. So it is the national Tunisian switch. We operate for all the banks. So and Monetique Tunisie had to get 4 certification standards every year. We had the PCI DSS, the PCI PIN, the PCI card production, and the PCI 3DS. Since many years, we work with different QSAs, and really we found some problems with when we have different auditors, different methods of work. So different requirement. Sometimes this company said that this is a requirement. The other ones comes after 1 or 2 years. You can no, it is not mandatory. Why you do this? So since two or 3 years, we had make the decision to make all the certification with ControlCase. And really, it had simplified the job for us, for the team, because working on 4 certification every year, it's a very difficult task for the team. And what is good with this new way or this method of management is to have the same interface, the same user interface to manage all the certification. Before this, when we have different QSAs, so we have different interfaces. You had to upload the evidence on each one. You don't know which one it is approved, which not is no. But now, in the same interface, you can have an idea about all the processes at the same time. And the things which is good too is one audit for many standards. So if you upload one evidence which is applied for all of them, all the standards, when you do the job, you will do it one time. You will not have to make it 3 or 4 times. So I think it is good to make this. Thank you.
Karthikeyan, you are in the space of technology service providers to your customers, and you have been pioneering providing digital transformation services. And you'll be subject to a lot of audits from your customer because you come into the supply chain. So how you manage? What are the challenges that you foresee with managing those multiple compliances? If you want to share it with the audience here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I want to say from real-time experience, we face a lot of audits that make a lot of time we are consuming. That will take more time both on internal and external audits. For example, we take SOC, PCI, HIPAA, and various audits, GDPR compliance, PCI DSS. So all these audits we do based on organization perspective and also contractual requirements as well. So in this case, we have to spend a lot of time, spending on each audit, internal audit activity. We have to prepare, and then we go for an external audits, and we have to spend time for the external audit. So if you take all these audits in a year, we almost spent more than 6 months of doing this internal and external audit. So this always been a challenging both on time and resources. So integrating this kind of a model, still we have not implemented completely because this required specific resources and needs to do integrating with all the technologies as well. So I think this type of a framework or the model, I think this will help. But right now we are spending a lot of time of spending this with a lot of resources and time. So that will be the huge challenge for us. So now we start mitigating that, doing this type of a framework and taking the right resources to help on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Satya, in his presentation, has covered the audit fatigue associated with the managing the multiple compliances. And he also talked about the one audit approach, right? One of the way to manage these multiple compliances. What are your views, Karthik, in how we can help you, right? With what Satya just shown on a screen, do you think it's really going to help you managing the stress associated with the managing these multiple compliances and the certification? If you can share your thoughts there.
Yeah, that's sure. So when I'm seeing this, because I could see various GRC platform for integrating various certifications. But when I'm looking on this type of, this is actually new to me, I will tell very openly. And I could see various kind of GRC platforms. I try to kind of exploring to integrate all these certifications, There are challenges we face is integrating various standards and identifying whether our policies is made to align with those standards. So it is a kind of a very difficult, even though this kind of a platform. But when Satya spoke about this, on this particular platform, it seems very interesting, I want to look on this, particularly on this, because various standards, aligning our internal policies and also the standards and complying with that, in a simple structure that will basically give more on a quality and cost efficiency. I think this kind of a platform really helps.
Hisham, the same question to you as well. When it comes to one audit approach, what are your views? Because we have been engaged with you for multiple certification, and as I said earlier, you may be subject to various other certification also. With one audit approach, what do you think, what benefits that will come to you, from reducing the stress associated with the audit fatigue, right? Multiple times you have to redundant or duplicity of the efforts that goes, right? How that can help you? If you can share your thoughts there.
Okay. There must be a strategy for compliance for audit in each company. So in our case, we use first the standard approach, like standard compliance sheets and managing for evidence collections. And there is a redundancy in this work, but it was like a first step. Then we look for automation and having something like consolidating all the evidence collection and also the risk register and everything related to compliance activities in a certain place where each and every concerned department within the company has access to try to monitor our progress and to maintain the certification. I think step by step we are enhancing this process. But actually, what we heard today from Satya is, I think it will help us a lot. This also get us to another point that selecting your partner in the audit and compliance is very important. The knowledge of the nature of your business, how he understands your business, how he can support you, how we can consolidate the effort and minimize the effort needed to achieve the compliance is very important. So what we see today actually is a huge step towards this direction that I think will help us a lot achieving the compliance.
Okay. If you can also share your thoughts on a criteria that have been set while selecting the external audit, because they also play a major role when it comes to the reducing the audit fatigue, right? So what is the most relevant criteria that you set forth, right, in selecting the external auditor? If you can share your thoughts there.
Okay. Just like what I mentioned, is the understanding of the line of business we are working with is very important. The understanding of the relevant compliance requirement, also the communication, and having the expertise and having the references in achieving the audit certificates and compliance requirement is very important to us. This is for sure, plus the cost implications as well. So having this criteria in place, trying to help you to select the right partner in such a critical activity.
Anwar, Ayadi, if you can share your thoughts on the same question in what criteria is most relevant for you to select the auditor, the external auditor?
I think that for the QSA and for the auditors, I think that they had to make things or make life easier for us. Now, with the growth of the risk, especially in technology, the risk of especially cybersecurity and external risk. So if we make, for the companies that had to be compliant for different standards every year, the task will be very difficult. So if the auditors can provide tools to make the task easier for the team to be compliant, to upload evidence, to give evidence, to be compliant with all the process, I think it should be a good thing to be compliant on time.
Yeah, thank you. With the rise of generative AI, right, it has been utilized to manage some of the, or automating some of the tasks. Nisal, I want to ask you, you have been using AI for some part of it, right, from automating. So what do you think the role of AI in managing the multiple compliance or managing the compliances? And then what benefits or the challenge that you see with use of AI?
Yeah, so we use AI for the AI in the sense the large language model for the internal usage. That is basically, say, if you look at, there are so many circulars coming in from the regulators, and there are so many standards to be followed, that there are so many things to be referred by the various staff. I mean, that has to be either referred to your IT department or the compliance teams. So to ease that out, what we have done is basically we use LLMs within internally, basically like a chatbot sort of thing, where basically the staff members can put their questions, and these models which refer the answers. So the internal knowledge gaps with the attritions and everything has been addressed using that one. And we also use AI for the analytics part, data analytics using on the compliance-related matters. But they are the biggest challenge what we face is the quality of data what we have currently. So when you apply this sort of a model, sometimes you get not get the correct information out. So that is the another challenge.
That
Yes.
Roylich talked about.
Yeah. So it's same challenges. Most of my colleagues also facing that the data quality has to be improved if you start using that one, and the regulatory and the other compliance-related matters also has to be looked at.
Yeah. Karthikeyan, you have been working on AI transformation for your customers, but what do you think AI can be utilized to, how it can be utilized to manage the multiple compliances, and what are the challenges and the benefits that you foresee with the use of AI?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. So AI, you know that AI basically works on the quality of data we are providing, the amount of data we are going to provide. So that will give a kind of AI value. So how much data you are going to provide. So this data has been kind of related with various kind of regulatory, like it may be a sensitive data or various confidential data. So the value of data, how much you are providing, the greater value of data, that will provide a kind of a results from AI. So segregating this data is the key challenges, okay? So how it will enhance this AI process. So the data quality is the biggest thing, how we are providing to get the expected results. The second is probably a resources, right? So the resources is also kind of a challenge. We need a very competent resource, okay? And this resource needs to understood all the compliance and what is the data we are going to give. So that will help, okay? So I can say these are the two things. Basically, one is the data quality that will have a regulatory impact, and another one is related to the resource. I think if we have fixed up on both these things, I think we will get a kind of a good kind of AI results, expected results. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see your orange screen on there that the time is up. So if I had to sum up this panel discussion, I see there are two key takeaways. One is that when you are coming or managing the multiple compliance, to have a unified compliance framework designed for you. You can leverage the compliance hub, technologies as a compliance hub, where we already have 60 plus standards or regulation mapped. You can utilize it. It's there. Or if you have your own tool, right, your own GRC tool, you need to work in designing the unified compliance framework, which can be mapped into your GRC tool. ControlCase certainly can help you. We are already engaged with a couple of customers where we are helping them design the unified compliance framework. Suresh will talk about this in his pro services session briefly. The other key takeaway is to choosing the right compliance partner, right, external auditor. I know the cost is one of the factors, but it cannot be only factor to choose your auditor. You need to ensure that the auditor, when you choose, bring your value to the table, right, in a form of the right experience, the technology or tech-enable, and the automation, which will help you maintain your compliances with ease. With that, I'd like to give big thank you to all the panels for their wonderful insight in the subject. And I hope this session has provided all of you valuable takeaways which you can take or adopt to navigate the complexities associated with the managing the multiple compliance with ease and confidence. Now I'd like to call Mr. Suresh, sir, on the stage to felicitate all the panel members. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Amol. And I must say this panel were, of course, full of knowledge, but from 4 different countries. And so it was a global panel in that sense. Let me request Mr. Mike Jana to please come on the stage and hand over the plaque to the distinguished panel member. Mr. Nisala. that because for the want of time, I'm just quickly requesting Omkar, the youngest senior vice president and vertical head, who is heading our HITRUST group. And under his leadership, we have advanced to a lot in this region for HITRUST. There are two reasons. One, he's very good with knowledge, and second, he comes from this region, so he understands the pain points of the region. So welcome, Omkar.
Thank you, sir, for the kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good time. So I'm going to talk about HITRUST. Satya explained, there's multiple regulations, and navigating through these multiple regulations can be a challenge. I'm going to talk about one such challenge, that is HITRUST. There's a lot of misconceptions, and hopefully, we'll be able to clarify those. I need the ticker. Slide ticker. Oh, there we go. All right. Perfect. So today what we're going to cover is what is HITRUST CSF. We want to focus more on why there's so many different frameworks in the industry. Why should any organization, go for HITRUST? Then we are going to talk about the different assessments that are there in the HITRUST framework today. Then, keeping true with the buzzword this year, AI, we're going to talk about some AI assessments that HITRUST has to offer. And then we're going to talk about, ControlCase's partnership with HITRUST and how we do HITRUST assessments before moving on to the panel discussion. Right. So as we know, HITRUST is a risk management framework, just like, PCI DSS or ISO 27001. It is a risk management framework. Originally, it was intended to, tackle the unique challenges that were there in the healthcare sector, right? However, long gone now, HITRUST is an industry agnostic framework. Any organization trying to protect any sensitive data can adopt the HITRUST framework. Adopt being the key word here, and we'll see why. HITRUST has built its standard. Originally, it was based on ISO 27001 and NIST 171. And then it has harmonized over 50 plus different standards into the framework, right? What that does is gives you an overarching view of these security controls and how they map to all of these different standards. At the same time, HITRUST allows organizations, during the scoping phase, of course, to tailor these requirements as per the organization's risk posture and security requirements. Right? So that's a brief on HITRUST. It's maintained and governed by HITRUST. They have a tool called HITRUST MyCSF tool, which is used to complete these security assessments. Now we want to talk about why is HITRUST important, and how does it help organizations, right? I've broken it down, as you can see, into 3 different sectors. One is, absolutely organizations invest a lot of money, resources in getting these certifications, right? So what is the return on investment here? Some security facts, and then we'll talk about compliance. If organizations want to achieve HITRUST, how does it help them, right? The first key factor I want to talk about is cyber insurance. Biggest challenge with cyber insurance is what we have learned recently, has to do with the underwriting process, right? It is very difficult to identify coverage as well as, getting those long questionnaires answered in determining what should be the rate. HITRUST has worked with a company called Triumph Cyber, and they have streamlined this process. So if an organization is HITRUST certified, they can get up to 25% credit in their cyber coverage or an insurance, right? Again, it's once you have a HITRUST certification, if you already have a cyber insurance policy, all you got to do is speak to your insurance provider. You don't have to change your insurance provider, and they would know what to do. In fact, recently, Lloyd's from London, they have developed a consortium of these insurance providers, globally rated insurance providers, to basically come together and streamline this process further and give more credits and coverage to the industry. Right? Next thing I want to talk about, speed of sale. Now, if you're already certified, originally how the world works with third-party risk management is you fill out these big questionnaires. Sometimes, you're already certified, you're still filling out questionnaires, you're answering the same question again and again, and it's, third-party risk management is a whole session altogether, right? We don't want to get into that. But if you're already certified, especially in the healthcare sector with HITRUST, it's easier to just walk in and say, hey, we are already certified, we meet all of these security requirements, and that helps you close the cycle of sale quicker. And we've seen recently, HITRUST has been also used as a go-to-market strategy component, right? There's a lot of businesses around the world who are trying to get into the US healthcare sector, and HITRUST is actually one of the key components that helps them take that advantage, the competitive advantage. So market differentiation is a key aspect, and HITRUST is actually being used to sort of get that advantage. Now coming to security. One of the key facts, and this is a snippet from the HITRUST Trust Report. So HITRUST recently released their first trust report in 2024. Organizations that were certified for HITRUST in 2022 and 2023, only 0.6% of them reported breaches. This is a very impressive number. 99.4% of organizations did not report any breach. So the assurance that is claimed is actually there, right? You get all the assurance that is required. Also, over 90% of requirements that were not meeting the framework and required a corrective action plan were remediated by organizations within 1 year. That goes to show that there is continuous monitoring that organizations are doing now that they've adopted to the framework and mitigating these requirements and ensuring that the risk is mitigated. HITRUST continuously monitors the industry threats, the new threats that are coming over, and tries to incorporate it in their standard. In fact, the HITRUST framework includes 100% of the threat vectors or threat indicators that are identified by the MITRE ATT&CK framework. That's why you keep seeing new standards of HITRUST come out every year, sometimes even 2-3 times a year, because as threats come up, they are incorporated in the standard. So whenever you're trying to provide assurance to your customers as an organization, you're always up to date, right? Now coming to the compliance piece. HITRUST, the standard itself, right? You've seen a lot of standards. Languages can be, the standard language that is used can be slightly confusing, slightly complex. What HITRUST has done is first of all, the standard is highly prescriptive, okay? It tells you exactly what the requirement is. It tells you what are the elements that need to be evaluated so that you can meet the requirement. And they also give illustrative procedures for each of these requirements, telling you and ControlCase, your assessor company, on how to sort of review these requirements and get what evidence has to be collected. In simple terms, what evidence has to be collected, right? So it's a very prescriptive standard that helps customers achieve compliance or organizations achieve compliance. Then I want to talk about, the multiple levels of validation that an HITRUST assessment goes through. Once you're ready and you've undergone an audit, HITRUST, then the assessor company actually performs your QA. There's another engagement executive review that happens. Then the assessment is submitted to HITRUST. HITRUST has their own checks and balances. They have some automated AI pre-checks that they run to maintain consistency, as well as they have manual QAs that look at all these evidences that have been collected, look at the scope and ensure that, the assurance that is being provided is accurate, right? So therefore, the compliance efforts that you're putting in is going through so many validations and hence providing the assurance to your customers, right? And absolutely third-party risk management, right? HITRUST is being used by large payers in the industry. In fact, UPMC recently announced that, they want all their vendors to be HITRUST certified. So instead of them, asking their vendors to fill out this questionnaire, they're saying, hey, you just get HITRUST certified and that's all we need from you, right? And third-party risk management has been streamlined quite a lot with this initiative. Next, I want to talk about what assessments HITRUST offers. As you can see on the screen, there's 3 separate assessments: the HITRUST E1 assessment, I1 assessment, R2 assessment. What are these names, right? They've named it based on the nature of the assessment, right? So E stands for essentials and 1 stands for 1-year validity. So HITRUST E1 assessment is a very basic cybersecurity requirement. It is more geared towards organizations who are trying to get into the HITRUST space, as well as organizations that just need to provide low levels of assurance, right? If, like Satya mentioned earlier, one size fits all that doesn't work, right? Each organization has different needs. They need to provide different levels of assurance, and hence these different certifications, right? So E1 provides very basic cybersecurity hygiene, essentials only, 44 standard requirement statements, and it only focuses on implementation. The I1 assessment stands for Implemented 1-Year Assessment. This is more comparable to your SOC 2s and your PCI DSS assessments, right? There's 182 controls. It covers all leading cybersecurity practices. It covers HIPAA inbuilt in it. Doesn't mean you're already audited for HIPAA. It basically means you're covering a lot of controls as you assess, right? And it only focuses on implementation again. Why I say only focuses on implementation is key when we come to the R2 assessment. The HITRUST R2 assessment is the original HITRUST assessment, which was known before 2020, right? Everyone knew, okay, there's a HITRUST assessment, which is, rigorous. There's a lot of controls. That's the HITRUST R2 assessment. R stands for risk-based, as I mentioned in the beginning. HITRUST allows you to tailor your assessment based on your risk posture, your organization's risk posture, and that's why it's R stands for risk-based, and 2 stands for, yes, it's valid for 2 years. There's a small interim assessment that needs to be done. Just like, you have to do surveillance audits for your ISMS, you have to do an interim assessment in the 2nd year. It's valid for 2 years. It allows you to tailor the assessment based on your, inherent risks. At the same time, let's say you're an organization, running in Singapore, and you're doing HITRUST, and you realize, hey, you know what? I also have to comply to the Singapore Privacy Act. Guess what? HITRUST has it incorporated in their standard. All you got to do is click a button, and all these Singapore Privacy Act related certifications, requirements will be incorporated in your assessment. Some of them are already mapped to HITRUST controls, and some of them will be incorporated, right? So it helps you to comply to multiple standards at the same time, right? And now coming to the maturity level. So in the R2 assessment, HITRUST has a maturity level. They have 5 maturity levels, in fact. Policy, procedure, implemented. These are mandatory maturity levels, and measured and managed. So what do I mean by policy, procedure, implemented, right? HITRUST believes that every single requirement must be assessed at 3 different levels. The organization should direct the organization to do something like mandatorily. That's usually your policy. The procedure document should talk about how that requirement has to be performed, right, in detail, and then the implementation, right? If there's 3 levels of maturity, we can always assure that, yes, this is going to be a repetitive process and it's always going to happen the same way, right? So these are the 3 maturity levels that are required. Now, HITRUST in their trust report also identified, because earlier there was just 1 HITRUST assessment, now there are 3. They saw that a lot of new adopters chose the E1 assessment because that's the level of assurance they actually wanted, and they did not want to do a high requirement level R2 assessment. So 47%, around 47.6% chose the HITRUST E1 assessment. 24.4 chose the R2, that's the 2-year assessment, and then 28% chose the I1. That goes to show that not everyone wanted to do the R2 in the first place. They wanted to provide low levels of assurance because they were, maybe not storing any sensitive data. They're just printing it, maybe just destroying it, other things, right? What will be interesting to see in the next forthcoming years is how many of these 47.6% of organizations that are doing the E1 assessment, how many of them translate into an R2 assessment, right? Because maybe some of these organizations have done an E1 assessment to get into the HITRUST space and will slowly grow to become an R2 certified organization, right? Next up, I want to introduce two AI-related assessments that HITRUST has brought in. On the right-hand side, you can see, or it's my left, your right, the HITRUST AI Security Assessment, and the left is the HITRUST AI Risk Management Framework. The HITRUST Security Assessment focuses only on the security aspect of AI, right? As we have learned recently, AI doesn't mean only security. There's a lot of other domains that need to be looked at with the same rigor. And this AI security assessment only focuses on the security part. It harmonizes NIST, ISO, and even OWASP controls in it. And it's targeted only towards AI providers. So providers that provide AI platforms as well as providers that provide AI technologies. It is not targeted towards AI users, right? It is a certification, it results in a certification, and it is an add-on certification to E1, I1, and R2. What HITRUST believes is AI security in itself doesn't provide the assurance. It's an additive to your existing infrastructure security, which makes sense, right? We cannot suddenly forget our infrastructure security and only focus on AI, right? There's up to 44 requirements. It's just a coincidence that the E1 has 44 requirements and the AI security assessment also has 44. But it's up to 44 because based on a certain scoping criteria, right? The level, which model do you use? Gen AI, predictive AI. To train your model, was covered data or sensitive data used, right? Based on all these questions, requirements are adjusted, and you may have to assess up to 44 AI security requirements that are very straightforward and focused only on security. Talking about the AI risk management framework, this is more comparable to your ISO 22894, which is the ISO's version of AI risk management framework, and the NIST AI risk management framework, right? It harmonizes both of them, in fact. It's up to, there are 51 controls. However, this is not a certification. Right? This is just a risk management assessment, which results in an insights report that you can provide to your stakeholders that give you a clear insight on the AI risks that your organization carries. Right? So again, these are brand new. I'm here 2 days. We can talk about this more in detail, and let me know if you want to discuss more. Finally, I want to talk about ControlCase's methodology for doing HITRUST. All these assessments we spoke about, ControlCase has one methodology. In this case, one size does fit all. So this methodology has been proven. We've been doing this for over 10 years now, and it's a proven methodology. It's very straightforward. We get into scoping. We ensure that we help organizations to determine the right scope. Sometimes we've seen organizations end up over-scoping their assessment. That means you're investing more money, you're looking at the wrong places. So we ensure the scope is very precise. Unlike ISMS, right? HITRUST does allow organizations like ControlCase, external assessors, to get into readiness with you. We do provide readiness consulting. We ensure that you understand each and every requirement. We come in, we look at, we conduct interviews, we look at what you have, we tell you how to fix things if you have to, we give you remediation support. Once you're ready, we move to the audit part. That is the validated assessment. We come in, we collect the right evidence, and there we utilize ACE. So I'm going to talk about it in the next slide, but ACE is something that Satya mentioned, Mike mentioned. This is our in-house tool called Automated Compliance Engine, ACE, that can go into your systems and collect evidence. As plain as that, collect evidence that is required for the audit so that you are not facing that audit fatigue, you are not collecting multiple evidence during that short window. Okay, and then finally, once your audit is done, it is submitted to HITRUST. They do their own QA and then give you your certification. Depending on what certification do you do, it's either valid for 1 year or 2 years. And then I want to close this presentation before we get into panel discussion, talking about ControlCase's journey with HITRUST. We've been HITRUST certified assessors since 2014. It's been more than 10 years. And we've completed more than 100 certificates, successful certifications, right? It's not easy. We absolutely understand that, and we walk with you in your journey to get certified. We've also been part of the HITRUST Assessor Council. This is a much sought after council, and we've been a part of this council along with 10 other companies since 2022, in fact. And finally, HITRUST has authorized ControlCase to use its compliance hub to do the readiness piece. Now, this may sound very normal because, we do all of other standards. We are one of the very few organizations who have in fact been authorized to do this. HITRUST, like I said, it has its own tool, but they do allow external assessor companies under, strict rules to use their technologies. They saw our portal, they said, yes, this is the best use of our intellectual property, and we think you're going to get us more business, and you're going to get more clients certified. So we are able to do that, and we are able to use ACE. ACE collects evidence right from your systems, like I said, and the evidence that comes in is in the format that HITRUST requires. So HITRUST was very glad to accept that, hey, you know what, you're helping customers, because they hear from customers time and again that, it takes us long to collect evidence. There's a lot of requirements. ACE takes some of that audit fatigue away, right? We are able to collect these evidences automatically from your systems, and that helps you to get certified faster and more accurately, right? Because all the data that's coming in from the system is already on the report. With that, I want to thank you guys for being so patient with me. And now we're going to move ahead to our panel discussion. I'm going to start announcing the panel members. Just bear with me a second here. All right. So first, we have Mr. Sriram Lakshmanan. He's the Deputy CISO of Genpact. Sri, can we have you on stage, please? He's been in the industry for over 25 years and has played various leadership roles in security and risk. He specializes in building and running security programs and infrastructure delivery. Welcome, Sri. Then I want to invite Mr. Chirag Panchal. He's the AVP of Infrastructure and InfoSec and Compliance at High Labs. Welcome, Chirag. He's an expert in building robust security architectures and has over 25 years of expertise in InfoSec and compliance and in deploying frameworks like HITRUST, ISO 27001 NIST. Lastly, we want to invite Mr. Muruguraj Narayanan. He's the Senior Director of IT Infra and Security at Prochant. Muruguraj, can we have on stage, please? He's an expert in managing security and InfoSec compliance. And he also, we know he's very good at implementing frameworks like HITRUST and ISO. Welcome, Muruguraj. Finally, I want to invite our moderator for today. You all know him. He's the President of Europe and UK, Mr. Ashish Kirtikar, and personally my mentor. So welcome, Mr. Ashish.
I'm going to invite you to join the panel.
Sure.
Please. So here I see we have 4 Indians and 1 Canadian Indian sitting on the panel.
Thank you.
And we have quite a few Indians in the house. So, how I'm going to summarize Omkar's session today is I'm going to say that, he dissected the HITRUST so very well that I'm pretty sure that he's related to Dr. Salunke from CID. So, for the uninitiated, which is, for the uninitiated, CID is the longest running television show in Indian television, and Dr. Salunke is a medical, forensic expert on the show and a very, very popular, figure.
I promise you, he has been planning this for the last 2 years. He keeps telling me, oh, I have something planned for you, and I don't know what, and this was it. So thank you.
But, you did dissect it that way, so I'm glad that you made sure that whatever I had in mind, you stayed up to it. Yeah. Logically. Oh, you did logically. That's right. All right, now getting down to the serious business, gentlemen. So, one of the key words which was mentioned in the session was something which CISOs always hear from their CFOs, from their CEOs. That's return on investment. So Omkar very specifically pointed out some areas where return on investment, HITRUST assists in that area with giving tangible results, you know. So Shri, why don't we start with you? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think that, how has HITRUST helped Genpact in, identifying proper return on investment?
Sure, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here. And before I start, if I don't make this disclosure or disclaimer, I won't have control and might have a case. And that was a plug, by the way. Well, the views that I'm going to share are my own, not the of my employer, past, present, or future. Right? However, in the context of return on investment, it's a very tricky subject because you would want to quantify the return in terms of the tangible money saved or money not required to be invested and available for other topics. But oftentimes, those are very important elements such as trust that comes about. We often miss that element. You can't measure trust. I don't know how to measure it. If you know, please let me know. Right? And that return on investment is probably the biggest, and I see Josh somewhere here. He would probably attest that that trust that you gain is the biggest investment that you could make for a customer and gain future businesses. So that's one for me. I'd let the panelists speak.
Murgaraj, what would you like to comment on this?
Hi. First of all, thanks for this opportunity. Okay, so personally I feel our sales has increased in the last 1 year. We have been adding 12 to 15 customers in the last 1 year just because of HITRUST certifications. Okay, so we are closely working with ControlCase for the last 5 years, and it has increased our reputation in the market. Okay, as well as we are having clear edge over our competitors. Okay, so in all the things, HITRUST compliance is very important for the organization, and we are reaping a lot of benefits out of this. Without HITRUST, we are nothing. Without ControlCase, we are nothing.
Certainly. So, Chirag, do you echo their sentiments when they talk about this reputational quotient that we are talking about, from something that is a return on investment when we are talking of HITRUST?
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Yes, I do echo their thoughts because the first thing that I experienced when I joined High Labs was, hey, there is a lot of things to be done. And the pain point was customer is asking for compliance certifications. Because and first thing they asked was, hey, are you SOC 2 Type 2 certified? We said, yes, we are. Next question, what about HITRUST? Yes, we are in the process of getting HITRUST certified. Okay, so which assessor firm have you engaged to do your readiness assessment and get yourself certified? And the moment I took a pause, I said, hey, they are looking out for, to know the reputation of ControlCase. And without hesitation, I just answered, yes, it's ControlCase. And the moment when I was having this conversation, customer went on to ControlCase website. He did a quick review, and he was like, okay, fine, you are good.
Okay.
And the moment we got HITRUST certified, I sitting in India and my CEO sitting in US, he is like, hey, we are HITRUST certified, do you know what? And I get my mailbox was bombarded from the business team congratulating me on achieving this certification. Why? Because it reduced their sales cycle.
Right.
Secondly, it also helped in cyber insurance. My CFO is very, very happy. The moment he introduces me to the cyber insurance, they are like, hey, send me your compliance certifications. And today, I don't share SOC 2 Type 2 certificate with them. To be frank enough, I just share the HITRUST certification, and they're happy with it.
Awesome. So, if I may summarize what three of you said in this context, is that definitely the reputational quotient is important, and this reputational quotient is translating into getting more business, which of course is the numbers, and that is basically what I can say the tangible return on investment, which normally CFOs and CEOs are looking for. So this was a really good, yes, sir.
And also to add your points, from operational point of view, there are days which we used to fill a lot of client questionnaire, Excel sheet, this and that. The moment we said HITRUST certificate, it answers everything.
Right, that's right.
I promise I didn't ask them to say this. They're really, really happy with
It really matters
HITRUST.
from operational point of view.
No, but it was good to hear that, ControlCase also, generates that kind of a reputational value that, that we are able to provide you when we say that we are certifying you for HITRUST. So thank you for mentioning that, gentlemen. And so going on to from return on investment, I would try to, go to a point which is very important in today's compliance landscape, which is about supply chain risks, right? So nowadays, everyone keeps talking about, the entire supply chain, end to end. We have to identify the security risks, the privacy risk, and, handle them accordingly. So if I have to talk in terms of HITRUST, Omkar mentioned about the shared responsibility matrix, right? Which I believe is something which aligns with the supply chain risk, metrics. So what are your thoughts on that, Chirag, if we may start with you this time?
No, there is hesitation initially from the customer end, but the moment we say that, hey, we are HITRUST compliant and we are using AWS as a cloud hosting partner, all the reservations are put at rest. Because AWS itself is HITRUST certified and everybody is very well aware in the market as to the security standards that AWS adheres to.
And then, as you mentioned, AWS, right? So how does it help in terms of when you are trying to leverage, right, your own HITRUST? How do you think that assists you?
There are certain controls like physical security, which is a shared responsibility. And the underlying architecture or the infrastructure that AWS provides is secure. And we just inherit those controls and integrate into our own assessment.
Right.
So that helps a lot. It reduces our efforts, and it really shortens the time.
Right. Raghurat, what would your thoughts be on this?
Okay, so the relationship has improved a lot. Earlier, like it's a client and a vendor relationship has changed into client into partner relationship. They are treating us as a partner. That's where we have elevated ourselves. We are giving a lot of suggestions. They are also learning from us a lot. That's a big plus for us. So it will again increase our business from one place.
Right. So, so basically what these two gentlemen are saying, Shri, is that, overall, when we look at it, everyone wins from it. It's like a win-win situation for your service providers, for your vendors, for yourself, because you're able to leverage, and finally for your client or customer who's asking you for your HITRUST certification, because you're able to provide an assurance that not just you, but your entire chain is, compliant. So what are your thoughts on that, Shri?
Certainly. If you notice, I'm the only guy with a different colored jacket, so probably the contrarian view here. Well, it does help, to be honest, but I don't see the adoption of that as wide as I think it could have.
Okay.
Having been pretty close to the process of even the inception of HITRUST Alliance back about 15 years ago, I could tell the intent was far more to be what you described, Omkar, but the content, where it is currently sitting, I am not so confident that it is delivered to that promise. Also, because people in this room, probably including us, haven't adapted that standard as well, or the intent of the standard as well. And then in the context of that supply chain, how many organizations are actually saying, hey, if you already have this certificate or that, I don't need to come and assess you. I don't think that's happening in as widespread form that I think it can. So
it was good to have a contrarian view. If everyone keeps talking good, then it becomes slightly boring. We have to bring some drama to the session. So, Omkar, as you, someone who is, meeting a lot of customers and all, what is your thought on what Shri is saying? How do you see this adoption? And as we all know that every standard is an evolving standard, right? So how do you look at this?
See, one of the key requirements in HITRUST, right, and I'm sure it's in other standards as well, is you need to, in your vendor agreements, right, with your vendors, you need to enforce your vendors to have the same level of security that you have, right? So if you're getting HITRUST certified, and maybe they're not getting HITRUST certified, right? Maybe you don't see it in the supply chain, but they're actually meeting those requirements via you, right? So I do agree to the point that, the adaptability of the framework is going to improve from here on, right? HITRUST has been investing heavily on educating, organizations and trying to, get organizations to use HITRUST for TPRM. So that is absolutely going to improve, but at the same time, it is already there, right? Organizations are already implementing security controls that their customers want them to implement, right?
So I think that as Sri rightly pointed out that, it is both aspects. From the customer side also there is some, evolving required, and at the same time HITRUST is anyways always evolving, right? They are always growing on that. So, yeah.
And just to add to, the shared responsibility model part, right? When you get HITRUST certified, and if you're a service provider, you can also provide that inheritance that you are taking from AWS. You can provide that inheritance that you are certified to your clients. So if you are HITRUST certified and your client has to undergo a HITRUST certification, he's saying, oh, you know what, this vendor is already HITRUST certified. My compliance journey is going to be easy if I choose this vendor, right? And that is, a very key aspect in determining if you should go for a HITRUST certification or not.
Oh, that's an excellent point. So, I think that due to want of time, I'm just going to, merge two of my questions which I had, with around, we just saw in the session earlier where Amol asked the audience that who have multi-regulatory requirements. And we saw quite a few hands up, but many were not up, which I feel that by next year, if we ask the same questions, almost all hands will be up, because we are all living in multi-regulatory environments. And along with that, we have the emerging technologies. We have AI coming in very, very heavily, and now HITRUST is also adopting standard. So how do you gentlemen look at this, from a perspective that how is HITRUST helping with their common security framework? Omkar mentioned that they harmonize more than 50 plus standards and things like that. And plus the new emerging technology standards also coming into play. How do you look that from, for a lack of better word, if I may say, from a prescient view, how do you look at it that you are going to utilize HITRUST in your organizations? If we may start with you, Murugdar.
Okay, so we are also observing this development since last November. November has introduced, HITRUST has introduced this thing. And this is under just a preparation phase now. And hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months, we will be in a position to elaborate further on this. As of now, we are completely focusing on next February month, we are going to certify for 11.3 certification on this. So next phase is to elaborate further on the AA.
Awesome. Shri, what would your comments be on this?
Looks like yet again. So I work for a company that's in the space of professional services, serving about 800 clients. Unfortunately, at this point, basically barely a handful of them really want HITRUST. And we're not a healthcare company, so that's not my standard to gravitate to. However, the risks that you spoke of and the emerging technologies like AI, like quantum, we barely speak about, right? So those are going to make an impact on how you define your control structures, which the CSF does accommodate for, and handle those well. So that is on my mind, not specifically HITRUST, unfortunately.
I understand. Chirag, what would your comment be on this?
It definitely helps my business because we are into US healthcare and we develop products which are based on AI. And we have written the code right from scratch.
Okay.
So normal HITRUST certification, yes, the customer accepts it, but specific to AI, where HITRUST is looking at specific controls on how AI is integrated or how AI, how this product is built using AI, definitely it will give them more assurance. Because right now, yes, AI is not that old to mature of, so it is like an emerging technology. But if an organization like HITRUST is providing assurance that, hey, look, till date, whatever is being used or whatever is being developed, then definitely we have checked and we certify that this particular product is safe and secure to be put into your environment.
Perfect. So, if I'm hearing all of you correctly, that all of you believe that there is definitely a way forward with the common framework, but at the same time, as Sri rightly mentioned that, is it possibly because of how HITRUST was positioned at the start with more related to healthcare, that's why the general perspective has not come in? Omkar, as the HITRUST expert, I'm going to allow you the last word in this panel discussion. So, how would you like to, summarize this, what I just mentioned? How do you look at it?
So, it's HITRUST and AI, right? See, AI is going to be used. There is no doubt about that. And it's about time we also look at AI security, right? So there are so many frameworks and standards that are already there, not known. Some of them are certifiable, some of them are not. ISO is going to come out with a new standard. It's in closed version right now. I think ISO 27090, which focuses, it's in the 27001, which its focus is only on security. And HITRUST has come up with its first version of this AI security assessment. If you look at those requirements, right, they're not new, right? You've been seeing them all along. It's just, the system now uses AI, it's an AI system now.
Yeah.
So yes, HITRUST and other standards, there's absolutely, we are going to see a boom in the AI security assessment and the AI risk management.
So if I'm to summarize this panel discussion today, I can quickly say 3 points. One is HITRUST is definitely a growing and evolving, compliance framework, a common compliance framework which, as more, adoption is increased, you will see them more gravitate away from the healthcare only and towards a general perspective. And they are someone who are to look out for when it comes to compliance on emerging technologies. So my time's already up. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot for being a part of this wonderful panel. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
I'll invite Mr. Suresh Darlani to felicitate the panelists, please.
Thank you all. And before we announce, I just thought, Omkar, I just thought this was looking like your appraisal session.
Sorry?
Your appraisal session. Everybody was talking about that. And this is just by the way. Thank you. Okay, so let's have... Sriram.
Thank you so much for being a part of my panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And let me call upon the next session, which is, I think, on cybersecurity, and will be presented by Vaibhav and Shashank, right? Vaibhav? Okay. So, Vaibhav, over to you. Please come. Vaibhav, of course, has been with the company for about 15 years. And as Mike mentioned, both Mike and I shared one vision on the CSS 4 years back. And he has proved that we were right the vision, that he's now #1 business group in terms of revenue in our company for cybersecurity. And then when I come to the after lunch, I will tell you what is my vision after this. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Suresh sir, for this introduction. So I know it's always, it's almost 12:40 and obviously everyone is hungry. So let's, before we start the lunch after this session, let's have some appetizer of security. Yeah. So let's start with how was 2024 for cybersecurity, right? So if you see, there are multiple business sectors which we have aligned, right? And the financial sector, basically we all are working in the financial sectors mainly in either or situation. So that is 25% affected with multiple vulnerabilities, right? Or the 25% kind of attacks has happened overall, where the main intention of the attackers is always to gain the financial data and the high potential returns for the attackers, right, which can then further used for different purposes. Then the next category, right, from the sector perspective, which is healthcare. We just finished the HITRUST. So the healthcare is again the next industry which have been attacked, and mainly for the PHI data, which can be used further for further attacks, including the insurance companies and all others. Then the manufacturing company. So obviously to protect the systems, we all use different softwares, tools, right? So the manufacture, obviously those are also not 100% secure, right? So the 18% of the attacks has happened in the manufacturing industry, where obviously the intention of the attacker is to get the trade secret or disruption of the supply chain services, right? And obviously the supply chain attacks is one thing which is commonly happening now. Then the next category is the retail sector. So there are multiple e-commerce organizations which have been attacked, and obviously they handle the customer data, right? So getting a customer data is one of the important I would say, intention of the attackers to have those retail sectors attacked. And then the next is technology, and post that government. So obviously the technology, as we said, right, the softwares are not 100% secure, so targeting the intellectual property and software vulnerabilities is the intention. Then the 10% is the government sector specifically. So these are most state-sponsored attacks, stealing with sensitive information or disruption of services. I mean, the best example is the war which is going on between Ukraine and Russia, right? So there are lots of state-sponsored attacks happening. So now, if we just try to focus on BSFI sector or the financial sector, there are 40% attacks has been happened on the bank. So the most targeted victim or the most targeted organization type, right, which we can see. Then we have service providers who always support banks in most of the cases for their financial operations and managing the sensitive data. Then we do have merchants who handles the e-commerce and POS transactions, and obviously those are the key attack points because those are directly faced. Then there are BPOs, so lots of BPO customers are here. So BPOs are the next category which has been attacked by 10% at least, but, and obviously the intention to attack those is have client-sensitive information, including personal, financial, I mean PII and other data. Then the last is, which is payment gateways and switches. Those are commonly attacked for using the transaction processing vulnerabilities, routing, and other authorization flaws. Okay, so obviously, if you see the cyber attacks, right? So those are mostly either with the remote code executions, then social engineering attacks, or phishing attacks, or supply chain attacks, right? So obviously, I mean, these banks is 40%, right? That doesn't mean they are actually not going through any compliance management or any security testing things, all those. obviously all those banks are doing the regulatory security testings, right? But there are few challenges which always these organizations faced, through which there might be something which is getting missed, right? So we are now trying to focus on those challenges. What are those challenges and how we can manage those, right? Obviously, I mean, if we try to solve the challenge, there will be something which will new come up. So let's try to manage those challenges. How can we improve on those things? Okay. So these are some key challenges based on our experience with different types of customers which we have seen. So the lack of skilled resource, right? So the organization, let's say we have seen the examples from the earlier presentations, right? Large organizations, small organizations. So obviously there are large organizations which may offer to take a skilled resource on the high pay, whereas if any small organization has to work, right? It may be really difficult for them to have those lack of skill resource with the limited budgets, right? So, and then certainly if we don't have a qualified resource on the qualified positions, right, specifically for the information testing, then there might be some gaps which are created and that ultimately leads to the compromise. Then the complex infrastructure. So nowadays we are using multiple infrastructures, right? With the combinations, like if I have on-premises, I may have a cloud infrastructure, I may have a serverless architecture, I may have other things. So it is really difficult for the organizations with the limited peoples to manage this complex infrastructure as well as maintaining the security of this complex infrastructure, because each of the infra may need a different skill, different tools, right? And obviously, with the limited budgets and other constraints, it may not be possible for small organization or medium-scale organization to optimize all those things for their organizations. Then overlapping compliance requirements. So from the second session onwards, we are talking about one audit, right? Where we are talking about multiple compliance requirements, which are ideally same or meeting the same intention, but those has to be performed periodically or with the different aspects, right? So people usually face a challenge into performing this activity. For example, if one audit, let's say PCI is talking about having a quarterly vulnerability scan, the other audit may talk about having it monthly, right? So then the next is ever-changing compliance requirements, right? So obviously, if there is a set guidelines and there is no improvement into that, we are going to have a huge gap on it, right? So with the example of PCI, the PCI 4.0 is already started, and there are few requirements which are going to applicable or mandatory from April onwards, right? So one of the requirement is having authenticated scan, right? So as of today, people's organizations are doing unauthenticated vulnerability scan, right? So which may get disclosed, through which they may be able to identify, let's say, 100 vulnerabilities within their environment. But once they switch to authenticated scan, the vulnerabilities will be multiplied by 10 times, right? Because we are going to have a scanning of all the installed softwares. So with this compliance changing requirement, it is difficult for the organizations to have a last-minute stand, a last-minute remediation, and they may fail to meet that requirement. Then the limited budget, which we have discussed in a couple of points. Then two key factors which we have observed, that is missing periodic scan and having a non-compliance. So there are multiple reasons to miss the periodic scan. The first reason we can say not having a clear communication between the organization, not understanding the requirements. So with this, then having some kind of downtimes or any kind of locking period through which they may not be able to scan during the exact time what we need. And then coming to non-compliances, customer usually fail to meet or to remediate the vulnerabilities within the timelines, and that's the reason they get the non-compliant report, or they may face a non-compliance against that requirement. And then lack of visibility. So ideally, what we have seen is organization get the report and then without any kind of analytical view, they directly start to remediate the vulnerabilities, and through which they actually fail to remediate the important observations, whereas their focus might be on the different observations which may not be important to for their compliances. So these are the some critical challenges which we have seen as of now. So let's talk about how we can manage those challenges. So lack of skilled resource, right? So for lack of skilled resource, we have multiple trainings which we can do for the customers or teams. Then resource outsourcing or staff augmentation. So for small scale organizations, right, where they may not be able to hire the employee, but they can hire the services, right? So the resource outsourcing or staff augmentation is something where the team can work with you with an extended hand as a part of your organization to meet all your requirements. Then engaging skilled professional and organizations, as I said. So having an extended hand of a skilled resource will really help to resolve the issue of skilled peoples. Then next is complex infrastructure. So as we said, right, in a complex infrastructure, we need to have assess multiple environments. So for that, we need a specialized tool. Then we need a different methodologies to be followed. So if we have a skill resource or the skill organization with us, then they can come up with some unified methodology which can help to organizations to meet all their requirements in one go. So they can customize their methodology to make sure that those are meeting the compliance requirements, those are meeting the requirements from the regulatory bodies as well. Then overlapping requirements and ever-changing compliance requirements. So for this, as we said, right, if our focus is on the compliance affecting vulnerabilities, we may be able to achieve the requirements, right? We need to follow the proactive risk-based approach. For example, let's say I have multiple vulnerabilities with the different criticalities, and I may not be able to mitigate any vulnerability, right? So let's try to come up with proactive approach to make sure that we follow any kind of compensating controls to mitigate those vulnerabilities or to reduce the risk to the acceptable level. Adopt continuous testing process. So with this, any changes in the requirement, right, that may be that we can adopt immediately. For example, authenticated scans, right? So if we have a continuous authenticated scan, we may be able to identify those vulnerabilities before the requirement has been, is mandatory, right? For example, for some of the customers, as a ControlCase initiative, we have already started sending an emails to start the authenticated scans, and we are supporting those as a complementary scans. So with this, what we can able to do is, before the requirement is become mandatory, we will be able to identify all the vulnerabilities which can come up as a part of authenticated scan, and customer can start remediation right away. So that by the time the requirement is become mandatory, we are in the good shape to make sure that we will achieve a compliance report within the quarterly given time. Then the limited budget, it is a concern for most of the smaller or medium-sized organizations. So with this, basically to avoid more spending, you can try to outsource, use the unified methodology, which where you can, or where we can have a single methodology to cover all those things. Then focus on predefined schedule, basically. There are multiple missing scans or non-compliance which we have seen, right? Where due to the communication gap, the scans are not happening periodically. Or scans, we may completely miss that, right? And then we have to find some kind of alternate workaround to this. But if we have a predefined schedule for a year, right? This will really help us to achieve this within the limited budget and meet the requirement. So we have covered all of this. I will just highlight the important factor, execute more than what is needed or what is asked. What does that exactly mean? So let's say if I am doing any quarterly vulnerability scans, right? I may start the scan in the first month. I will have the report. I will start the remediation. And then by the end of the quarter, I will look for a compliant report. Right? So this cycle actually won't work for most of the organizations. Okay? So execute more than what is asked. So the requirement is quarterly, right? But what if I started it, or I start this scan, or I run this activity on a monthly basis, right? So what will happen usually? You will be able to identify your observations on a monthly basis. So any new observations, right, that will be easily identified on a monthly basis. You will try to remediate those within the same month. Okay? So by the time you are at Q3, you will have only limited vulnerabilities. Or you will have, and as well as you will have multiple compliant reports for that particular quarter to meet the requirement. This is what execute more than what is asked in the requirement. Then the lack of visibility. So as I said, right, most of the organizations try to, as soon as they receive the report, they try to forward the report and ask to remediate the findings to the stakeholders, right? And there are chances that stakeholders may not respond to them, or multiple challenges which they face. So having a bird's eye view or analytical view will really help organization to focus where the action is needed. Right? For example, I have hundreds of vulnerabilities, but there are few which are critical to my organization, and those are really affecting the compliances. So my focus for that quarter should be to work on those vulnerabilities, not on all the 100, right? So that I will be able to mitigate the risk, I will be able to mitigate the, I will be able to meet the requirement, and the things will be in hand or in situation. So for that, ControlCase has taken an initiative, and ControlCase has already introduced to some of the customers. There will be a vulnerability dashboard which will help you to have this kind of analytical view and to focus where the action is needed. So these are multiple options or solutions, right, which we can use to manage the different challenges to make sure that we meet the requirement as well as we meet the security of the organization without any hurdle. So quickly, we are going to, so this is the cybersecurity coverage, what kind of services we provide to the customer, and as a part of one audit, the way we work for the compliances, same way the cybersecurity work to ensure or to draft the methodology which will help you to meet your multiple requirements. The frequency is predefined basically as per the requirements, but as I said, right, let's try to have more than what is needed. So this can be customized, and if you're looking for, let's say, any monthly VA or a quarterly rule set review or configuration review, then that can be done through the skilled assessor by the ControlCase. So why ControlCase specifically? So we have seen the compliance hub continuously, right, from few sessions. So compliance hub is basically the combination of, it is a single point of communication with the use of AI and other technologies. It gives you a clear picture about your security, a 360-degree view of your organization from the security standpoint through the vulnerability dashboard. And then the use of, when we say cutting edge technology, the use of high standard tools, the professional tools which we use. Then, so ControlCase, from the PCI perspective, ControlCase is a approved scanning vendor from last 17 years continuously. Then, specifically for Indian market, where the CERTIN is required, right? So we are empaneled vendors for last 11 years as a part of CERTIN. Then, for European region or the Indian market, right, where they communicate with the European region or have business with European region specifically. We are now CREST accredited organization as well to perform the testing under the CREST methodology what we have. Then the last but not least is partnership approach, right? So we always try to work with the customer as their extended hand, where we can help them to make sure that they are secure and they are compliant. So these are the organization qualities. When we say skilled resource, right? So we do have a skilled resource with multiple industry standard certifications from different organizations like EC Council, Offensive Security, and the product-based certifications as well. So we have seen a transition specifically from on-premises to serverless architecture, right? So as the technologies grow, the attacks have been also changed. And the same, the method of testing those technologies, right? So for example, in serverless architecture, the testing is more focused on microservices or API, whereas for containerized environments, the testing is more on vulnerability scanning of the containers. For zero trust and for zero trust framework, the testing is includes the thorough testing of the basic principle, right, of the zero trust, like having least privileges or continuous testing. For AI-based applications, so we are continuously seeing AI. So for AI-based applications, also the way the applications are advanced, right? The testing also needs to be done with some kind of human intellect, right? So for this, specifically, to just conclude the sessions, we'll just try to have a live demo for the AI-based applications, where we are just going to look at the prompt injection, right? This is one of the vulnerability which usually identified in the AI-based applications. So anyone of you is aware about Gandalf? So Gandalf is a character basically from one of the movie who always talks about moving forward, okay? So there is a site called